Welcome to tonight's meeting of the Georges River Council. I declare the meeting open at 7:01 p.m. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the Gidjigal people of the Eora Nation, who are the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. Being November, we have an acknowledgement of Remembrance Day. Council acknowledges the brave Australians who have served and those who have died as a result of war. They went with songs to the battle. They were young, straight of limb, true of eye, steady and aglow. They were staunch to the end against odds uncounted. They fell with their faces to the foe. They shall grow not old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them, lest we forget. If I can kindly ask that we all get up standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. If we can remain standing, sorry, for the Australian National Anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is girt by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts, all beauty rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains that let us sing, advance Australia fair. Beneath the radiance of the cross, we'll toil with hearts and hands to make this commonwealth of ours renowned of all the lands. For those who've come across the seas, we've boundless plains to share. With courage let us all combine to advance Australia fair. In joyful strains that let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Please remain standing for the opening prayer, which will be held by Reverend Elvin Hong of St. George Anglican Church, Hurstville. Thank you, Reverend.
Thank you, Department. Great. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Almighty God of all peace and comfort, we come before you today to ask for your guidance, wisdom, and help as we begin this meeting. Thank you that you are always just and merciful, and have appointed the risen Jesus as Lord, Judge, and Savior of all. Thank you that by the death and resurrection of Jesus, the way has been made to know you, and we pray that this knowledge continues to be known by all. Thank you that you are sovereign and have appointed ruling bodies and councils, and have given this council authority to carry out justice and to do good for the Georges River community. May the council today carry out its tasks with sincerity, truth, other people's centeredness, and diligence, furthering the good of the community and enabling the community to live out their lives in peace and generosity. And please speak with those who are bringing matters before council today. May they have peace during this time, and may justice be brought to bear on the circumstances. Please enable us to bear with one another in kindness and grace. And finally, may all that we do here today and all that we accomplish may be in accordance with your will for the service of humanity and bringing glory to you. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. You may all be seated. Apologies, there were no apologies for tonight's meeting. There were no requests to attend via audio-visual link either. Notice of live streaming of council meetings. Staff and public are reminded that this meeting is being recorded for minute-taking purposes and is also being webcast live on council's website. This recording will be made available on council's website. The order of business is as shown in the agenda. Council's Code of Meeting Practice prohibits the electronic recording of meetings without the express permission of council. Disclosures of interest. I have two disclosures of interest. First one being from Councillor Marnie. Disclosed a non-significant non-pecuniary interest in item NM 080-23, Glenn Lee, and request for meeting with Minister for Environment and Heritage for the reason that he is a member of Oatley Flora and Fauna Conservation Society and Friends of Glen Lee. Both groups are advocating for the preservation and acquisition of the property. Councillor Marnie will remain in the meeting and take part in consideration and voting on this item. Councillor Catras disclosed a pecuniary interest in item CCL 101-23, Georges River Council's Community Grants Program 23-24, Round 1 report by Grants Officer, for the reason that the Greek Orthodox Community of New South Wales applied for a grant in this round, and my office has been commissioned to carry out some architectural services by them. Therefore, I will not involve myself in the deliberations on this item. Councillor Catras will not remain in the meeting and will not take part in consideration and voting on this item. I do have another disclosure of interest. Councillor Borg disclosed a non-significant non-pecuniary interest in item MM 040-23, Bluefield Award Aquatic Recreation Institute, New South Wales, for the reason that she personally knows the Halk Swim School manager. Councillor Borg will remain in the meeting and take part in consideration and voting on this item. Are there any other declarations of interest, councillors? Councillors? No. There being none, we move over to public participation on items on the agenda. Tonight, there are 14 speakers registered for tonight's meeting. Submissions 5, 8, 13 and 14 will be read by staff. I would like to remind the speakers that speakers have a 3-minute time limit. The first sound that you hear indicates that you have 1 minute remaining. At the second sound, I kindly ask that you conclude your comments and finish off what you're saying. I will now pass over to Ms. McKinley to introduce the speakers. Thank you.
Speaker number 1, George Carrard, speaking on CCL 102-23, report of the Environment and Planning Committee meeting, annual update, progress towards net zero carbon emissions and renewable energy targets.
Well, hello everyone. I'll speak about the Environment Committee report. I strongly believe that choice of words is very important. Do any of you think of carbon dioxide as a poisonous gas? Probably not. But I think we should now regard it as poisonous because putting it in the atmosphere is threatening our lives and those of our children and grandchildren. The Code of Meeting Practice says respect the needs of the local community. We need a safe world for our children, therefore must stop putting poisonous gases in the air. It's a very hard task, but it must be done. Darebin Council. I think Georges River Council should follow the example of Darebin Council which among other measures helps pensioners install solar panels. Randwick Council. I would like Council to follow the example of Randwick Council, which is helping ratepayers by bulk buying and reselling new and second-hand electric vehicles. Cost, as you all know, getting to 100% renewables is very costly, but the cost of not doing enough is enormous. I want to congratulate Council for reducing electricity emissions and embarking on increased canopy tree planting. The word canopy implies shade. I know that the roots of large trees can cause problems. We have to pay to have a livable environment. In the future, extreme weather events, electricity underground should be aimed for. I urge Council to buy only 100% electric vehicles, not hybrids, because one, hybrids are very much more complicated than pure electric and therefore less reliable, will not last as long and will have a lower resale value. Two, hybrids emit poisonous greenhouse gases. Three, to quote ENB 045-23, Council has difficulty in resourcing hybrid vehicles. A friend of mine bought a sturdy BYD pure electric car recently with a range of 480 kilometres, had to wait only 8 days for delivery. Offsetting. I urge Council to forget about offsetting, a process which is vulnerable to corruption, for example, planting trees and not making sure they survive. It is widely seen as a cop-out, not a good look for Council. Community batteries. Council should facilitate an Australian government grant to an electricity provider to install community batteries. So far, 52 Australian councils are benefiting from these grants. The information is on the Australian Government Department of Climate Change website. If 52 Australian councils can do it, so can Georges River Council. Vehicles to grid. Council should copy Flinders University's testing of vehicle batteries to grid, described on the university's website. Technology will be a money earner for Council. I would like to have an opportunity to talk with Council Environment Officers, as I did years ago with Daniela Ramirez. Some of you might remember her. There are links to information on my submission. I'm happy to talk with anyone who wants more information. Thank you.
Speaker number 2, Richard Morton, is speaking on NM 07623, rebuilding of Endeavour Street Wharf, Sans Souci.
Good evening. My name's Richard Morton. I'm a ratepayer of Georges River Council in its various forms for the last 20 years. Tonight I wish to address the closure of the Endeavour Street Wharf. A truly divine position surrounded by streets and water. The atmosphere is pure and wonderfully healthy and much to be desired at all seasons of the year. These two quotes are from the for sale brochure of last century for a house in Sans Souci known as Ellesmere, a house owned by the 16th Premier of New South Wales, Mr. Joseph Carruthers, over 100 years ago in Sans Souci. Immediately in front of this house, Ellesmere, is the Endeavour Street Wharf on Kogarah Bay that has equally been there in various forms for over 100 years. The wharf is used daily. Sailors use the wharf to get to their boats moored on Kogarah Bay. The wharf is used daily. Mothers, fathers, grandparents use the wharf to teach their young children and grandchildren the joys of fishing. The wharf is used daily. Couples gather daily to admire the peaceful red fire that fills the sunset sky. The wharf is used daily. Individuals sit, reflect, and enjoy a moment of solitude with the water to ponder their problems. And of course, by families that come each Australia Day to watch the Georges River Council fireworks that explode in a multitude of colour in the night sky over Cars Park. However, since January of this year, the wharf has been closed. It's in urgent need of repair. Regrettably, it seems that there are no funds that Council can allocate to repair the wharf this financial year. Funds are being requested for the 2024-2025 financial year, with construction to start in the 25-26 year. However, what is the priority of this wharf over other assets? What is the priority of a closed wharf over assets that are not closed to the residents? By the time the works are completed, the wharf will have been unavailable to the community to enjoy for between 3 and 3.5 years. Surely it is not right that a community asset that is enjoyed daily by so many for so long should be unavailable for such an extended period of time. In comparison, the Captain Cook Bridge, built almost 60 years ago, a massive structure designed to carry 6 lanes of traffic and 30,000 cars daily, was built over the same period of time, 3 years. Surely in 2023, we can aspire to be better. Tonight, Councillor Borg is proposing a motion to request that the Minister for Lands and Property, Mr Steve Camper, seek a grant for rebuilding the wharf. Tonight, I seek your support to this motion, and once funds are made available by the Minister, that the Council place the highest priority on the restoration of the wharf over other such assets, so the community can once again enjoy the wonderful asset on a daily basis. Further, I'd ask in the intervening years, including this year, if Council has surplus funds, that they be made available for the repair of the asset. Thank you for your time.
Speaker number 3, Teresa Cott, on NM 074-23, property investors restricted from becoming councillors.
Thank you. We already have acts, namely the Electoral Act and the Local Government Act of 1993, setting out the exclusion criteria for persons and professions that cannot stand as candidates at local government elections. So where are we heading with this motion? The first reason that I can see is that the property investors to be banned from serving as councillors, it's on the grounds of integrity. Well, there's a few problems with the word property investors. It includes single people, it includes self-managed superannuation funds, it includes retail and industry superannuation funds, it includes business companies that own real estate. Have we got any way of looking after the breaches of conduct presently? The former Minister for Skills, TAFE, Tertiary Education and the Hunter, Tim Crackenthorpe, failed to adhere to the Ministerial Code of Conduct to identify substantial private family holdings. The matter was referred to ICAC. In 2019-2020, 2 councillors from Georges River Council were investigated by ICAC. One councillor, when asked why he accepted bribes, answered, greed and power. So maybe the problem is that political party membership and pre-selection procedures need to be addressed, strengthened, rather than broadly stating that property investors lack integrity to stand for civic positions. So what is the government's position on property investors? Well, back in 2016, Labor Party stood on a platform to abolish negative gearing benefits. The voters did not look favourably on that, and that housing policy was abandoned in 2019. Last week, in the Sutherland Shire Leader full-page ad placed by BC Property Agents titled NDIS Information Session, Unlock 15% returns on your rental property with government subsidies. The title is quite clear: How to invest in housing for NDIS recipients and receive a government subsidy. There is a potential conflict point here when I look at our agenda, because we have an item from the agenda, we have an agenda item about the shortage of housing. But at the same time, we're saying we're not going to put property investors into this market. So how are we going to make tonight's discussion between a housing shortage and restricting property investors from this combination? That will be the interesting part of the debate.
Speaker number 4, Matthew Heffernan, on NM 070-23 Compost Revolution Project.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Matt Hefton. I've been a resident of the St George area for my entire life. I'm speaking today on behalf of Permaculture Sydney South, which is a small garden group that was incorporated in 2009 by myself and a few other people. Permaculture is about self-sufficiency and that all starts at home, and reduction of waste at home and those sort of things. So I'm here to support Councillor Wang's proposal for subsidising worm farms and compost bins. It may seem like a bit of an old idea, but waste is created in the kitchen at home, so it's got to be dealt with there. So the only place that it can be done is within the residents. The individual homeowners need to reduce their waste by incorporating worm farms or compost, or chickens. What would I have? Personally, I compost all my green waste. I've been doing so for 15 years. I don't use my green bin. And I hot compost. I do it because I grow most of my fruit and vegetables on a small suburban block. I also use my verge. I've been using my verge for many years to the council's disgust, but they've come around. Good on you. They've finally come around. And so I have a mulcher machine so that all of my prunings also gets composted. So there's zero waste. The weeds put in the hot compost and that burns the weeds. So I see this idea as an old idea, but a new idea. It needs to be pushed. Unit blocks is could be a major win because I suspect, I don't know how many unit blocks you don't even have green bins. I'd say there's a good portion that don't. But having large compost bins and maybe a champion on that site to manage the compost, that would be a big win in reduction of organic waste. And the council's Verge Garden initiative that has recently been brought on, so that could tie in well with the composting. Not that you have got a compost bin on the verge, but it's all about building organic matter and healthy plants, sequestering carbon, reducing water consumption, etc. Thank you.
Speaker number 5 will be read by myself on behalf of Sherry Nichol from the Salvation Army Hurstville Corps. It is to do with NM 07223. Congratulations to the Salvation Army Hurstville Corps for the Many Cultures One Hope event. On behalf of the Salvation Army Hurstville, we would like to thank Georges River Council for their incredible support and kindness for our Many Cultures One Hope event, which was held at Hurstville Plaza on Sunday, 22nd of October 2023. This event gave a great opportunity to come together and celebrate the uniqueness of the different cultures in our community. It was a time of happiness, dancing, music, food and encouragement as we joined together under one banner of hope. The success of this event was made possible through the generous assistance of the Georges River Council and the dedicated efforts of numerous volunteers from the Salvation Army, local community and the Georges River Association. The venue, Hurstville Plaza, was ideal, with the generosity of Georges River Council to permit us to hold this event free of charge and to use the AV system. We are grateful for the wonderful tireless support of Independent Councillor Ben Wang from the Georges River Council. We believe this event was successful in bringing diverse cultures together to enjoy and appreciate each other's uniqueness. We would like to explore the possibility of holding a similar event in 2024. Once again, thank you for the support of GRC. Speaker number 6 is Janine Matai. She is speaking on NM 08023, Glen Lee, and request a meeting with the Minister for the Environment and Heritage.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Janine Matai, and I am the co-executor of Glenlee. I am a fourth generation of the Matai family. I grew up on Glenlee. This property means a lot to me, more than to many other people. But the reality is, the cost of modern living, it is not affordable. I am responsible to the well-being of my mother and my siblings. I'm here to address the matter which has put a lot of stress on my whole family. This concerns the sale of Glenlee. As you are aware of the situation of the council decision which interferes with the process of the sale of Glenlee, I am a jeweller. I design and hand make high-end jewellery, which requires a creative mind and an attention to detail. The distraction of not having a sale of Glenlee affects my working capacity. I am a hard-working person who works 6 days a week. During this 5-year period of uncertainty, I have taken many days off work and had to attend numerous conference calls during work hours. To find solutions for the sale of Glenlee, which jeopardises my employment. I have been dedicated to my work for more than 30 years. This affects my employment, which is not good for the state of the economy. This stagnation is starting to affect my mental health due to all the extra work and having no resolution. I would like some resolution to this situation. Can the committee look into the development application number DA2021/0181 and look into the portal? I would like confirmation on the amount of blocks which are council approved. My co-executor indicated council approved 17 blocks. Could the council give me documents on allowed development? If 17 blocks are approved, why isn't the council applying for the 10 billion Housing Australia Future Fund for social and affordable housing? It would be good if the council communicated with the state government to look into Riverwood Housing Commission land to develop more housing. This would contribute to alleviate the housing crisis. This is an opportunity to relocate 17 Housing Commission families if the council purchased Glenlee. I'm confident the council could create a wonderful development with 17 homes and beautiful green space, which the whole community could use. Lack of affordable housing is a hot topic at the moment. This could be your opportunity as a progressive council to create an architect-designed development. A development that encompasses heritage, Indigenous culture and good environmental urban development combined together. It would be wonderful if you could get a grant for upgrading Housing Commission sites in Riverwood. This would help to solve the housing crisis, also boost the economy in Riverwood, as Riverwood is a good location between the 2 airports and other surrounding suburbs. This could also attract more tourists to the area with great transport infrastructure. There are possibly other Housing Commission potential sites that may have opportunities to develop. Please propose this to the state government. Thank you for listening to me.
Speaker number 7, Joseph Battagliano on NM 068-23, commuter car park in Mortdale.
Yeah, good evening. My family are the owners of the IGA building. Now, this car park, what they want to make a commuter car park, was built years ago when they got rid of the Masonic Hall, and we all had a special town levy. All the shops in Mortdale, we had to contribute towards this car park to furnish it. Now, all of a sudden, we want to take 80 parking spots off us. They've already taken 10. Now, also in the last Mortdale draft plan. The car park, which the council also owns next to the fire station, is no longer a car park. It's a block of 4-storey building there now. So that's another 20. So it's 120 parking spots they're taking out of Mortdale. Now, we are losing customers. The shops are down by 20% since last year when they started doing the footpaths. 20%. That's a lot. And I've spoken to other shopkeepers in the area. They're all in the same boat. We need more parking, not less parking. And this commuter car park, why do we need a commuter car park when the trains are stopping less in Mortdale and more in Oatley, which they built the car park there for? Like, if the council wants to build a car park, we were promised years ago it was going to be a multi-storey car park there. When they did the Masonic Hall and they bought the 2 houses next door, which the council owns. Well, we haven't seen any of that, but we had a special town levy for about 10, 15 years. All owners in the Mortdale shops. Like ours was, I think, about $1,800 a year. Right? Now, it's just that the council's going against the shopkeepers in the area, whether they want the shops there or not. A lot of the shops have got long leases there, and a lot of them are owning operators. It's getting to the point where we're going to have to seek legal advice about stopping losing all these car parking spaces, because it's costing us money, and you're restricting our livelihood. Now, our livelihood is important, just like councils for commuter car park. Now, what is the meaning of commuter car park? That, to me, that means it's only for trained people, not for customers to park there, right? We don't need a commuter car park. If not, what they should do, the RSL Club said they were going broke. Why don't they compulsory acquisition their land and build a multi-storey car park for commuters only? It will service Pitt Street and Macquarie Place, the units there after hours where people can park their cars there. And if the RSL Club stays there, they got a car park, multi-storey car park. But we need more car park, not less car park. Thank you.
Speaker number 8, Deb Mackey, has provided a submission for me to read on her behalf. It is to do regarding NM 06823, commuter car park in Mortdale. My name is Deb Mackey, and I was only here last month talking about the Mortdale Master Plan. In the last meeting, Councillor Jamieson had 2 motions which discussed the process for traffic and car park management. First motion was point F of the Mortdale Master Plan, and the second was NM 05823, which was the traffic and parking study, which included the process of identifying short-term parking and also performing a parking study which addresses the issues. Then suddenly this month, previous motions are ignored, and apparently the answer to the parking problem is a commuter car park. The issue in Mortdale is customer parking first and foremost, not commuter parking. This was clear in the consultation workshops and all the feedback that council received. Councillor Smerdley, were you present at the consultation workshops to hear the issues and talk to the residents who live this every day? If not, then how can you possibly know what to rectify? Do not take further customer parking away, stop punishing the people of Mortdale, and stop listening to your Sydney friends out of the area. Please just leave Mortdale alone like you have for the last 3 years. This is not a campaign for the seat of Oatley.
Councillor Smerdley, I'll chair the meeting. Thank you. I'll chair the meeting.
We just want the parking and traffic issues rectified properly as per Councillor Jamison's motion. No more ad hoc ideas without consultation, which will cause more issues down the track. We have fought hard to be listened to get this right for Mortdale. Speaker number 9 is Matt Allison on behalf of Oatley Flora and Fauna Association on NM 07023, Compost Revolution.
Good evening, everyone. Sustainability is a grand principle that sat well with our parents and grandparents as they cobbled together meagre resources to endure the Great Depression and World War II. However, heavily influenced by American-style capitalism since the end of the war, we in Australia entered the crazy age of rampant consumerism and quickly and regrettably, austerity gave way to a thoughtless throwaway society. Clever advertising managed to convince us to buy more than we need, or stuff that we don't need, just because we have the available income or credit to feed this insatiable appetite. So it comes as no surprise that on average, half of our consumer waste is uneaten food, which finds its way into the red bin as wasteful garbage. Of course, FOGO, when finally implemented, hopefully well before the mandatory date of 2030, will divert this food waste from landfill to a wholesome growing soil medium on a huge scale. In the meantime, the very least that we can do as engaged citizens in a finite world is to personally compost our own food waste to keep it out of landfill. Our family has used compost bins for as long as I can remember, and our contribution to the red bin is generally always meagre. To its great credit, Georges River Council is a member of the Compost Revolution, a workshop-based education initiative making terrific progress in the community's uptake of compost bins, worm farms and bokashi bins. In fact, the nationwide partnership now boasts nearly 90,000 households, diverting over 30,000 tonnes of waste from landfill, reducing carbon emissions and reducing net waste management costs for council and its ratepayers by the sustainable measure of simply composting our food waste. It actually works. Can I at this point commend Percival Ward Councillor Ben Wang for championing this initiative towards a more sustainable future. Ben wishes for the council to proudly endorse the Compost Revolution project on council's website, detailing the subsidised worm farms and compost bins available to residents. Ben would also like to see a council-initiated education campaign to encourage community participation in the Compost Revolution program. Let's face it, as local government is responsible for garbage recycling services, it seems only logical for council to take up such initiatives and lead the community towards real deal sustainability practices. And we sorely need the community to come on board with this initiative. If council is seen to be a responsible, forward-thinking government agency, then it stands to reason that the community will feel buoyed to take up sensible council-inspired services. In the meantime, the absolute very least we can do is find a responsible way to keep our overly abundant foodstuffs out of our bins. And the good news is that reducing food waste is the most effective thing individuals can do to address climate change. Thanks for listening.
The next speaker, Speaker 10, Adrian Polhill on CCL 10223, report of the Environment and Planning Committee meeting, annual update, progress towards net zero carbon emissions and renewable energy targets.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thanks to Meryl and the team for putting this report together. I did listen to the webcast from last week and where I spoke, and also to Councillor Marnie for putting this motion to the council. I do have a question about the net zero emissions. Meryl may like to answer this at some stage. Are our contractors included in the carbon emissions? From my short research, I did find that a local council in northeastern Victoria, they actually included contractors in their carbon emissions, and their carbon emissions approximately double what the Georges River Council carbon emissions are. The size of this little community is about 17,000 in population, about a tenth of what our population is here. So I did have a question, and maybe you've got all the answers.
Sorry, Mr. Polhill, we can't actually take questions. We can take your comments.
Okay, thank you. I'll make a comment. Thank you, Sam. Okay, so I'll leave that with you. The second point I'd like to raise is about carbon offset. You heard from one of our previous speakers, George Carrard. Please address this very, very carefully. There's close to 70 or 80% of the carbon offset schemes are fraudulent. So I would urge you to make a note at some stage to check this extremely carefully before you do make any progress. Thirdly, I'd like to mention that I compliment you on the tree planting projects, and I urge you to move forward to these as soon as possible, because according to your current carbon emissions of less than 3,000 tonnes of carbon every year, if you could plant up to 40,000 trees, whether they're here in the LGA or elsewhere, within a decade, that would offset your current carbon emissions. So it's worthwhile thinking very carefully about what you can do in terms of moving these tree planting projects forward as urgently as possible. I think that's included in the motion from Councillor Marnie tonight. Finally, I'd like to leave you with one thought, and that is, I think there's real space and some real value in developing or launching a climate advisory committee. That may be something you can consider in the future budget. I believe there's much to be gained from engaging the community and many different ideas that will help us all move towards a carbon net zero for the whole of the community in much shorter time than 2050. Thank you very much.
Speaker number 11, Kim Wagstaff, on behalf of Oatley Flora and Fauna, speaking on QWN 03423, Get the Site Right, October 2023.
Evening, councillors. It's good to be here. Just a note of clarification, the Get the Site Right is a campaign for reducing building waste and sediment runoff, cement waste, that sort of thing, from building sites and rubbish. So first of all, I'd like to thank Councillor Marnie for asking these questions of council so that we, the community, can have some light shed on how well developers and builders comply with building regulations and approval conditions, particularly in relation to environmental impacts from construction sites. It sometimes appears when walking around the LGA that there are many building sites that are not well managed in terms of sediment control, rubbish removal and tree protection. So it is good to see that council conducts these campaigns to try to improve compliance. And it's extremely important that builders do get the site right to prevent impacts on the environment, such as those listed in the officer response. For example, it directly pollutes our creeks, river and harbours by filling them with dirt, soil, sand and mud. This leads to poorer water quality, affecting swimming or leisure activities in and around our waterways, destroys aquatic habitats and smothers native plants and animals that live in our waterways. Blocks stormwater drains, leading to flooding and overflows, and we saw a bit of that in the last few days. Erodes creeks and riverbanks, causes health and safety risks such as slippery roads and tripping hazards, and damage or removal of protected trees. The inspections under this campaign were undertaken on only one day during the advertised campaign periods for May and October this year. The results briefly: in May, of the 51 sites inspected, 10 or 20% were found to be non-compliant, and in the October campaign, of the 45 sites inspected, 13 or 30% were found to be non-compliant. Two issues arise from this response. It seems that this is not a lot of inspections, given that there could be nearly 300 other days in a year when builders might be working on site. The potential for undetected offensive and consequent detrimental impacts on environmental health is large. So it is a bit alarming that the last sentence in the response to the question with notice states, due to current resource provisions, Get the Site Right is the only proactive initiative currently undertaken by the compliance unit. The unit operates on a reactive basis and only inspect when a request is lodged by the public. That is, we have to tell you where things are going wrong. The second issue is that of private certifiers not being involved in the Get the Site Right campaign, except when, as a result of the campaign, council staff, as required, will engage with the private certifier of the development to discuss issues of concern with the site. They may request that sediment and erosion controls are either improved or implemented. It is very concerning that some sites under the supervision of a private certifier are non-compliant, and it points to the pitfalls in the current private certification process. In my experience, it is often difficult to even get a contact number for a PC when trying to report a problem. Hopefully the motion reported under another agenda item here tonight that was submitted by Councillor Jamieson and passed at the recent local government conference, asking that local government New South Wales urges the New South Wales government to take steps to improve private certification processes, including, and it listed a whole list of processes that need improvement.
Thank you, Mr. Wagstaff. I'm sorry, but you've gone a minute over time.
Sorry, just
Oh,
one sentence to go.
One sentence now.
So, councillors, I ask you when budget time comes around to carefully consider that rules and regulations and policies are needed to be in place, but must be supported by sufficient resources and strategies to ensure compliance and protect our precious environment. Thank you.
Speaker number 12, Brian Ralston, on NM 08023, Glen Lee, and request a meeting with the Minister for the Environment and Heritage.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the President of Friends of Glen Lee Incorporated. I thank Councillor Mahoney for raising this motion. As you're aware, there was a meeting held with the Environment Minister in August with a number of councillors, General Manager and another staff member. Some progress was made on that occasion, but that's 3 months ago, and lines of communication have dwindled a little in the recent weeks. So we would urge that the council support the need for a further meeting. If that meeting is to be held, I'd urge the council to have a look at an issue that might have slipped through the cracks. Friends of Glen Lee has now for some time been advocating for the establishment on Glen Lee that's publicly acquired, the establishment of a Peakhurst-Lugano community hub. I raised that at the last meeting and with the Minister, and was surprised that some councillors were unaware of that proposal, because it actually comes from the council's strategy. The council proposal via the Open Space and Community Facilities Strategy 2019 to 2036 proposes a Peakhurst-Lugano hub, potentially focused on bushland. Sounds like Glen Lee to me. It has been estimated to have a cost of 7.2 million. We, from the point of view of Friends of Glen Lee, have been advocating its use for a variety of activities, and it's not an exhaustive list. But for example, a community garden, kayak hire, a men's shed, the risk of being sexist, an educational centre for art classes, music classes, photography classes, dance classes, an Indigenous history museum, an early settler and oyster farming museum, marine workshop, an outdoor gym, general rest, relaxation and soaking up the atmosphere. All activities which would not impact upon the integrity of the property. The focus to date by the government has been on why it can't be done, why Glen Lee can't be acquired. I think we need to look at how it can be. And what I'd urge you to do here is to look at the response we're going to get from the government is no one government has sufficient funds presently available to be applied to the purchase of Glen Lee. Well, that cycle's been going for the last 2.5 years. It needs to be broken. There's a range of diverse activities that can be used on that hub that would be, we believe, able to be the source of funds from the government from different agencies rather than the one. So I'd urge you, ladies and gentlemen, please review the strategy that is part of your strategy, and perhaps look at a different way than saying, well, we haven't got the money, they haven't got the money. There are ways we can do this. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
I'll read the next submission from Brenda Lee on NM 07323, engaging with local business and helping boost local economy. Thanks for the opportunity to speak on support Councillor Nancy Liu's motion. As a business owner in Hurstville for the past few decades, I have seen the changes on the streets of Hurstville. I understand the council constantly tries to improve and support local businesses in the area, hence today's motion to engage in local business and help boost local economy. My observation in the past year, I have compared the main streets of Burwood to the main streets of Hurstville. Both suburbs have Westfield shopping centres and both suburbs have good transport facilities and similar demographics. I see Burwood streets are full of pedestrian traffic and businesses seem to be vibrant, not just during the day, but nighttime activities are bustling. This brings me to think, why is Burwood thriving whilst Hurstville streets are getting quieter over the years with many shops vacant along Forest Road? The next submission is from Ginger Lee, which I'll also read, on NM 07323, engaging with local business and helping boost local economy. Thanks for this opportunity, and I'm glad to speak on and support Councillor Nancy Liu's motion. In order to facilitate economic growth and enable local businesses to seize potential opportunities, it is crucial for the Council to prioritise targeted business communications. By highlighting and exploring various business areas, we can ensure that local businesses are well informed and equipped to maximise their economic potential in the lead up, for example, lead up to the Lunar New Year Festival in 2024. Read the second point in the motion, that Council seek to increase communication and engagement with local Georges River businesses by joining the Sir George Business Chamber and Service New South Wales on visits walks around local employment precincts across the LGA. I hope Business Chamber could disclose its timetable for their walks and visits to the community. Thanks and best regards.
Thank you, Ms McKinley. Councillors, before I move over to confirmation minutes of previous meetings, there is one other disclosure of interest which I've been made aware of and I forgot to mention, but a disclosure of interest from Councillor Smerdley, which I think has been provided to Council staff. Councillor Smerdley declares a significant non-pecuniary interest in that he is a member of the Autism Community Network, which is item CCL 104-23, applications pursuant to Councillor Ward Discretionary Fund November 2023. And I'll just table that disclosure. Any other disclosures?
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Just on disclosure of interest, I do run a business in Hurstville, but I'm assuming that Councillor Liu's notice of motion is regarding retail business and not accounting practices.
So
as a consequence, I'm not putting disclosure of interest. I'm assuming, if I'm not mistaken, Councillor Liu, is that correct? You're looking at retail businesses and not accounting or other service type industry.
Thank you. Through Mr. Mayor, yes, the mainly on Forest Road is the retail services and restaurant, those kind of business. Thank you.
Councillors, I'll move over to confirmation minutes of previous meetings. Do I have a mover for the confirmation minutes of the council meeting held on the 23rd of October? Moved by Councillor Katras, seconded by Councillor Koniarski. All those in favour say aye. All those against, I declare that carried. Next, councillors, I have a few Merrill minutes. The first Merrill minute being Georges River Keeper wins Litter Award. And in the interest of time, councillors, and the fact that these have been published on the website and on the agenda, I'll take the background as read and I'll put forward the motion that all council staff involved in the Georges River Keeper Zero Litter in Georges River campaign be congratulated for supporting the award-winning program, and B, that the General Manager write to Connells Point Public School and thank the staff, students and the school community for their participation in the Georges River Keeper Zero Litter to Georges River project and notify them of the successful award. I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against, I declare that carried. The next motion is Merrill Minute 040-23, Bluefin Award Aquatic Recreation Institute of New South Wales. Again, I'll take that as read as well, councillors. The motion is that council congratulate Bluefin on the outstanding achievement of being awarded the Aquatic Recreation Institute 2023 New South Wales Swim School of the Year.
Could I just say a quick word?
Sure. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just like to support this motion. I do know the swim school manager of Hurstville Aquatic Leisure Centre. She taught my children to swim over a decade ago, and I know that she puts her heart and soul into running the swim school at Hurstville Aquatic Leisure Centre, and Bluefit are very lucky to have her as a staff member, as are the kids of the residents of Georges River. So I'd just like to echo that. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any other comments, councillors? I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against, I declare that carried. The next motion is recognising the sad passing of Mr. Graham Young. Councillors, if you could bear with me for a couple of minutes, because I'd like to make note of the achievements and history of Mr. Young. Mr. Graham Young was born on the 14th of June 1943 and sadly passed away on the 19th of November at the age of 80. Serving in local government was a family tradition for Mr. Young, whose father, George Sidney Young, was a health and building surveyor for over 40 years and the chief health and building inspector at Woollahra Council for about 15 years. Both of George's sons, Ian and Graham, became health and building surveyors. Graham Young commenced his employment with Ashfield Council in 1959. In 1965, he joined North Sydney Council as a district inspector and was eventually appointed as Senior Building Investigations Officer. Mr. Young also worked in London at the Department of Architecture and Planning at Westminster City Council from 77 to 78. Graham joined Hurstville Council in 1979 as a Senior Health and Building Inspector. Over the years, he held various senior management positions, including Manager of Environmental Services, spanning building services, development, health and building approvals, and development control. Mr. Young completed postgraduate studies in town planning with the Planning Institute of Australia and the Australian Institute of Building Surveyors. He also lectured in building surveying and building construction at Sydney Technical College, along with his brother Ian. He won various awards, including a Rotary Community Award during that time. In 2009, Graham Young retired after a career spanning over 50 years in local government, including the last 30 years at Hurstville Council. Mr. Young was very active in the community, even after retirement. In 2017 and 2021, he ran as an independent in New South Wales local government elections for Georges River in the Hurstville ward. Graham will be sadly missed by all those that knew him, but his contributions and public service over many years will be recognised for many years to come. Council is the motion. The council notes the sad passing of Mr. Graham Young and extended our deepest sympathies to his family.
Mr. Mayor, could I say a few words to?
Sure, Councillor Catchels.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was aware of Mr. Graham Young. Unfortunately, passed away on the 19th of November 2023. Graham was a very honourable environmental health and building surveyor and town planner with a great breadth of qualifications, but more importantly, he served with unquestionable ethics for 30 years at Hurstville City Council and 50 years in local government. He also lectured many building surveyors and town planning students in the early 1980s, and he guided and mentored many councillors and senior officers in local and state government. I was elected as a councillor to Cogra City Council in 1994, but prior to that and after that year, I had good reason to come into contact with Graham Young on a professional capacity. I found him to be calm. And very calm and a very attentive man who tried to find solutions to all problems and complaints that came before him. At Hurstville City Council, he worked under a few directors who did not hesitate to provide various testaments when asked to do so. I would like now to table these testaments for future record. Thank you. These testaments come from Kevin Pretty, former Director of Health and Building of Hurstville City Council. In his words, Graham was a consummate professional officer, experienced
dedicated, totally reliable and virtually unflappable. Another one, Dennis Beaumont, former Director in Development and Health at Hurstville City Council. Graham served as deputy when he joined the council, that's Hurstville Council, in 1996. In his own words, thanks to Graham's extensive knowledge of planning and building regulations, coupled with his long experience on building and development in administering council properties through the turbulent times. He was more than a worker. To me, he was a soulmate. Thanks. Brett Daintree, former Director of Planning and Development at Hurstville City Council, and in his words, Graham, most strident efforts were spent in the employ of Hurstville City Council, where he guided and mentored so many, including myself, councillors, and many other current senior officers. There is no doubt that Graham touched many people's lives with his knowledge and his ethical approach to local government planning, building and health matters. Rest in peace, Graham. Our sincere condolences go to all your family and your very many friends.
Thank you, Councillor Catras. Councillor Wang. Sorry, Councillor Catras, if you could just turn off your mic. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and Councillor Catras for your beautiful condolence. As a personal friend with Graham Young, so I'm constantly inspired by his optimism, even in the face of the most difficult circumstances. During his battle against cancer for several years, he kept communicating with me to share community concerns. Only a few months ago, he gave me very valuable feedback about the DA approval time in our council, and which prompted a very useful report for the community. His funeral will be at 12 p.m. this Thursday, 30th of November, at the Revival Church, Penshurst. Please join his families and friends to bid the last farewell, if you like. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wang. Any further speakers on the motion? There being none, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against, I declare that carried. If we can stand up for a moment's silence to pay our respects. Thank you. The next mayoral minute is MM 042-23, Local Government Professionals Australia, New South Wales President. Councillors, I'll take the motion as read, but in saying that as well, I'd like to congratulate our General Manager, Mr. David Tuxford, on his new position and new role, and I'm sure that David will do a remarkable job representing the professional body of local government professionals. The motion, councillors. Yes, of course, Councillor.
I'd like to also congratulate David Tuxford for his appointment as the President of the Local Government Professionals Association. I've been working with him for the last couple of years, and I strongly believe that David deserves this award. David's not a person who's got a lot of words to say. David is more of an action person. He puts to action what he firmly believes. He puts to us what he firmly believes. And I must admit, his ability to fight off significant issues is unparalleled. And I think he's also the sort of person that listens, gives advice, and that's what he's done for me. He's listened to me, but he's also given me advice. And on many occasions, his let's just say, curtailed my impulsive nature, which I think is a commendation because he's pretty cool, calm and collected when it comes to dealing with matters. The other thing is, councillors, it's not just a proud moment for David, it's a proud moment for us. Think about what this means. Our general manager has just been, I suppose, awarded one of the highest ranking in local government, and that is the president of the Local Government Professionals Association. And we should be proud also that we do have a general manager that's got that ability and can demand that sort of respect. I hope he continues on to gain many other respects and many other commendations in the future, because he strongly deserves it. He's not a man that goes around, beating his own drum. He's a man that just takes action.
Thank you, Councillor Catras. Councillors, I'll put the motion before you that Council congratulate Georges River Council's General Manager David Tuxford on his appointment as President of the Local Government Professionals Australia New South Wales Board. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against, I declare that carried. Yeah. Next motion is Merrill Minute 043-23, no domestic violence walk. Councillors, the motion is the Council acknowledges the support and involvement of our emergency services, including the St George Local Area Command, New South Wales Fire and Rescue Metro South 2, St George's Ambulance and the Georges River local high schools, including St George Girls High, James Cook Boys Tech College, High School, Cogra High School, Georges River College, Oatley Senior Campus, Beverly Hills Girls High School, and Wanura Road School in the Georges River Council Say No to Domestic Violence Walk 2023. And the Council acknowledges the work of Council officers for bringing the community together with this event to promote positive change by encouraging men, women and the youth to stand up against domestic violence in the Georges River community. I'll put the motion. Councillor Symington, thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I also want to congratulate council officers for organising the Say No to Domestic Violence Walk. I was particularly impressed this year with the addition of taking the pledge by school representatives. I thought it was a great initiative. It allowed students to be involved and actually take ownership instead of just being spectators and listening to people talk at them, remembering they're the key to breaking intergenerational violence. So that was great. I also want to acknowledge the contribution by Superintendent Rowan Cramsey. He was absolutely spot on when he said, and I'm going to say what he said, we can no longer be silent spectators. He urged everyone to be on the lookout for anyone who's suffering from domestic abuse. Ask yourselves, if you're not that person to ring the police, who's going to do that? Do something when you see something, you hear something, and no longer be a spectator. Let's have a sliding door moment where we save lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Symington. Councillors, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against, I declare that carried. Next item on the agenda is condolences. Do we have any condolences, councillors? There being none, I'll move over to committee reports. First committee report is CCL 100-23, which is reported the Assets and Infrastructure Committee meeting held on the 20th of November 2023. I'll put that to Councillor Kuniarski.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move ASS 029-23, ASS 030-23 and ASS 031-23 as per the meeting of the Assets and Infrastructure Committee.
Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Stratokopoulos. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against, I declare that carried. Next item on the agenda is CCL 101-23, report of the Community and Culture meeting held on the 20th of November 2023. Councillor Luke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say that a recommendation for item COM 035-3 to COM 036A.
Yes, Councillor Catras is, sorry, if you just hold up.
Okay.
One moment.
Thank you.
Councillor Stratokopoulos, if you could just turn off the mic.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. I just resume those recommendations for item COM 035 to 038A-23 as printed in the paper be adopted by council. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Liu, seconded by Councillor Koniarski. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against, I declare that carried. Next item on the agenda is CCL 102-23, report of the Environment and Planning Committee meeting held on the 20th of November 2023. Councillor Marnie.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to move that recommendation ZNB 041-23 to 045-23 be adopted by council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Seconded by Councillor Jamieson. Any discussion? There being none, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those, yes, correct. We actually need to do this by division, so I'll pass over to Miss McKinley to take our votes, and I vote for.
Deputy Mayor, Councillor Hall.
For.
Councillor Ambi Hapaha. For. Councillor Fakara.
For.
Councillor Jamieson.
For.
Councillor Catras.
For.
Councillor Konjarski.
For.
Councillor Lansbury.
For.
Councillor Liu.
For.
Councillor Marnie.
For.
Councillor Mort.
For.
Councillor Smerdley.
For.
Councillor Stratokopoulos.
For.
Councillor Symington.
For.
Councillor Wang.
For.
15 votes for, unanimous.
Thank you, councillors. Next item on the agenda is CCL 103-23, report of the Finance and Governance Committee meeting held on the 20th of November 2023. Councillor Jamieson.
I move the recommendation that the Finance and Governance Committee recommendation for items FIN 041-23 as to FIN 044-23 as detailed below be adopted by the council.
Thank you, Councillor Jamieson. Do I have a seconder for that? Seconded by Deputy Mayor Borg. Any discussion on those? There being none, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against, I declare that carried. Next item on the agenda is CCL 104-23, applications pursuant to Council Award Discretionary Fund Policy 2023. Councillor Jamieson.
I move recommendations as I move the council officer recommendations.
Moved by Councillor Jamieson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Borg. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against, I declare that carried. Next item on the agenda is CCL 105-23, report on outstanding council resolutions, period up to and including the 30th of September 2023. Councillor Jamieson.
I move the council officer recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor Jamieson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Borg. All those in favour say aye. All those against, I declare that carried. Next item is CCL 106-23, draft Georges River Council annual report. Councillor Jamieson.
I move the councillor officer's recommendations.
Moved by Councillor Jamieson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Borg. All those in favour say aye. All those against, I declare that carried. Next item, CCL 107-23, audited financial statements and auditors report for the year ending 30th of June 2023. Councillor Jamieson.
I move the councillor officer's recommendation that the report be received and noted.
Moved by Councillor Jamieson, seconded by Councillor Koniarski. All those in favour say aye.
Through the chair, I have some questions, if you don't mind.
Sure.
The first question I have has to do with page 172 of the report, or if you'd like, page 18 of 91, which is headed by B2-3, other revenues, and it indicates their insurance claims recoveries. We're looking at 1.37 million. Can I get a bit of a clarification as to what that involves?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So the material item was the repair of the roofs that were impacted over in the main civic area on our left. in the major rainstorm that was there. So that was the material claim. Other than that, there's minor items associated with personal claims made to council, but they're of quite a variety and personal nature.
And I do have some further questions. On the other page, there's an item, through the chair, of course, there's an item called just on top of total special purpose grants and non-development contributions cash. And it says RLRRP transport grants 4.306 million. Could you give me a little bit of information on that too, please?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So the acronym stands for Regional and Local Roads Repair Program. Council received approximately 4.3 million. It's a broader program that was funded by the New South Wales government to support councils to repair urgent repairs after the major flooding incident that occurred.
Thank you. This, I think, may be my last question. Just see. Yes, the one that I'd like a bit of clarification on is under the heading of B5 performance against budget. The part that I don't understand is net gains from disposal of assets. Losses occurred as a result of write-offs to the values of assets within roads, bridges and footpaths and open space and recreation. Could you give a bit of a clarification? What are we writing off in terms of roads, bridges, footpaths, open space and recreation? Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So there was a positive result in terms of the disposal of plant assets, though there was a negative attribute there associated with roads and footpaths and open space. So when we capitalise items that's associated with even has to have a improved value to the asset, but within there also can be items that we have to dispose of. So it's the end of life of that asset, and that makes up, could be various number of items, though that adds into the total that we have to write off there. So it's made up of a high volume of assets within those classes of roads, footpaths and open spaces.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Smith.
Thank you. That was moved by Councillor Jamieson, seconded by Councillor Kanyarski. Are there any further questions or comments on that? There being none, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against, I declare that carried. Next motion is CCL 108-23, demolition and construction of Lower Poolton Park Amenities Block. Councillor Kanyarski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's an amendment to that report. If you'd like to have a look on screen, basically it is naming the contractor.
Right.
I'll put that.
So that motion's been put by Councillor Kanyarski, moved by Councillor Kanyarski. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Seconded by Councillor.
I second it.
Who was it? Lou. I think it was. Yeah, Lou. Councillors, any discussion on the matter? There being none, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against? I'll put the motion again. All those in favour say aye. Aye. All those against? I declare that carried. Thank you. Next item is CCL 109-23, budget for design of the future Peakhurst Park Community Centre located at 7A Headley Street, Redwood. Councillor Lou, do I have a motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just would like to put the recommendation being adopted by council.
Moved by Councillor Lou, seconded by Councillor Kanyarski. Any discussion on that, councillors? There being none, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. All those against, I declare that carried. Councillors, we move over to notices of motion. First notice of motion that we have in front of us is NM 068-23 commuter car park in Mortdale. Councillor Smoot.
I believe Councillor Jamieson has the amendment.
Councillor, so Councillor Smoothly moves his motion. Do I have a seconder for that motion? You can move the amendment as a seconder. Okay. But what I need is Councillor Smoothly moves the motion. Councillor Jamieson, you're seconding the motion with an amendment to be accepted by the mover. Okay, so moved by Councillor Smoothly, seconded by Councillor Jamieson. A amendment is being made, which is going to be up on the screen. That's the amendment. Councillor Smoothly, you accept that amendment. So now that is the motion. Councillor Smoothly, would you like to speak to that motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'll speak briefly on this. I'll keep it simple here. In terms of commuters and train timetables, as you pointed out, the crux of changes with the timetable at Mortdale Station is to balance the demand between Oatley and Mortdale, rather than most trains stopping at Mortdale. It's now close to 50-50. Commuters still park in the streets of Macquarie Place, Martin Place, Cook Street, and even along Ellen Subway. So naturally speaking, there's less spots available for business owners and shoppers. Now, the motion is simply calling for a feasibility study for a commuter car park in Mortdale. And these are my further reasons. Many residents of Mortdale and surrounding suburbs do rely on public transport to commute to work or school every day, and having a dedicated car will greatly enhance their experience. A commuter car will provide a convenient and secure location for individuals to park their vehicles before hopping on the train. This will not only reduce stress of finding parking in our already crowded side streets and main streets, but encourage more people to use public transportation, ultimately reducing traffic congestion and carbon emissions. But also, I noticed on Facebook, Carmela Savoca made a great point. She pointed out that an option of a hybrid car park solution could be investigated as part of this. I believe that's a great idea. A combination of a commuter car park in Mortdale would not only benefit the residents, but also the local economy. All-day parking spots in our side streets are used by commuters, but we can make things more efficient. But also remember, this is just a motion calling for a study to take place. Lastly, I did raise this motion with our member Mark Cure. He agrees to support council in whichever way he can for additional parking solutions in Mortdale. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smoothly. Councillor Jamieson is a seconder of the motion. You want to speak to it?
Thank you for accepting amendments, Councillor Smoothly. And I think it was clear from last month in the speakers that I think we both recognise, all of us recognise that there are traffic issues there. So, and I appreciate the eagerness, my friend, here to jump into a resolution. But as we've said in the motions that we've said before, the process described in the previous amendments is probably the best way to go, so we can ensure that businesses do get the best thing, that they do get assistance from council. And to quote from St George Business Chambers, the papers on the 4 pillars from section 4.2, we need more parking to support our local retailers, and we need better traffic management flows to encourage consumers to want to come and shop and support a local business. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jamieson. Now, from my understanding of what was...
Just a question.
Sure, Councillor Symington. I'll get to it just after this because I'm not sure if I've missed something here, but my understanding is that you are moving a hybrid / commuter car park suggestion, or just a specific commuter car park motion. Sorry, councillors. If Councillor Jamieson,
yeah,
if you can just stand.
Yeah. I think the key part is that we go through the process, and if it's hybrid, then we do a hybrid. If it's no commuter car park, we do a no commuter. But I guess it's the process, and the process will come with a solution. So it's probably best not actually, as the advice was given to me, not to specify until we've done actually all the
Yes, I think if I may suggest something, that if you do want to keep it open, that you add hybrid in there, so that it doesn't constrict it just to commuter car park, I think. Okay, if we can get council officers to add hybrid / commuter car park in Mortdale.
Second sentence, I'd say.
Yeah, just in the second line.
Hybrid commuter car park. No, the second sentence of the whole motion is following. Conduct feasibility study for hybrid community hub.
Yeah. Second line. Yeah. Sorry, Councillor Symington, you had a question.
Yeah, through you, Chair, to the Director of Assets. Can you advise if there's a response been received yet about Beverly Hills commuter car park being used as a hybrid?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the short answer to that is no. We have actually we have raised it with Transport for New South Wales on a number of occasions. At this stage, it's not considered as part of the Beverly Hills commuter car park. However, in our most recent discussions, they have agreed to take that away for further discussion. So that would potentially provide out of hours access for non-commuters if they were in agreement to that.
Got one more too. So potentially if there's a feasibility study done and Transport for New South Wales agrees to do this, then they see, oh yeah, we could build a commuter car park there, whether it's hybrid or not. Is the propensity for them to go, right, we want that site, we can compulsory acquire it, like can take it out of the, our hands? Is there a, like a domino effect? Could that happen?
Through you, Mr. Merrill, and they take that one on notice. I'm not sure what the overall process is for compulsory acquisition. I believe they do have powers to compulsory acquire any land, regardless of the outcome of any study.
Any further questions, councillors, or comments? Councillor Smedley, do you need a right of reply?
Or is that my right?
No, I'll put the motion, councillors. All those in favour say aye. All those against?
Voting against that? I'm against it.
Councillor Symington, just noting is against. I declare the motion carried. Councillors, the next motion is NM 069-23 faded street signs. Councillor Smedley.
Yeah.
Moved by Councillor Smedley, seconded by Councillor Liu. Councillor Smedley.
I'll just speak briefly on this matter. I just want to thank Hayley and the team for their prompt work in addressing this serious problem across our LGA. They've done lots of good work in Riverwood and Noe so far. I've received plenty of correspondence from very happy residents to see that they can finally see their local street signs. So thank you.
Any speakers
Got a
for the
question.
motion? Councillor Symington.
Speaking. Nancy, you're speaking.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm happy to support Councillor Smedley's motion. Even today, Mr. Mayor and I both went to the corner of Mount Street and Park Street today to meet our staff from Depot to change that to a significant faded street sign. So it really demands from the community, and I'm pretty sure the council's team, the personnel, right to personnel, really react to the demand from the community. Thank you for the team. Thank you, Ms. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Liu. Councillor Symington with a question.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the Director of Assets. I note in the motion it says Naree and Riverwood. When will the Beverly Hills signs be installed?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it does say Riverwood and Naree. We have actually commenced in Beverly Hills. We're just waiting on another order of signs to actually come through. It appears that that'll be over the next few weeks. We should actually be well through Beverly Hills into sort of February, March of next year.
Any further questions? Any speakers against the motion? There being none, councillors, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against, I declare that carried. Next motion, NM 070-23 Compost Revolution Project. Councillor Wang. Moved by Councillor Wang, seconded by Councillor Catras. Councillor Wang. Councillor Catras, if you can turn your mic on.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks for Councillor Catras for seconding that. I also like to thank staff for lots of effort to collaborate on the motion and provide very insightful director's comments. Really very good background. It saves me lots of trouble. And the great speakers, public speakers, I think today. So some aspects of sustainable living, such as clean energy, can be costly, but there are numerous ways to adopt eco-friendly lifestyle that also save money. So my motion today is centered around promoting the usage of compost bins and worm farms, which can serve this dual purpose effectively. I have two photos, if possible. It's a very humble compost bins in my garden, just for a little bit of fun. Yeah. So as you can see, I have used these things for 7 years. They all started falling apart, but they still do the job. Yeah. And the third photo was taken during the COVID. This huge pumpkin was solely fertilized by the compost from those bins. So that's very impressive, isn't it? Yeah. So that's why I advocate for this compost bin strongly. To reduce my groceries expenses, minimize waste sent to landfill, and even comparing with the FOGO, cut down transportation, fertilizer production, and sales costs. Stats indicate that utilizing compost bins, despite being a modest effort, can also lower waste management costs for councils. So it's only saves money not only saves money for families, but also for councils and the society at large. So my motion has two parts. The first part is point A, B, and C, essentially to amplify the existing compost revolution project through social media channels. Considering the significant benefits I've outlined, leveraging this existing project should be a quick win. So actually, a few days ago, I came across a new video on council's Facebook page promoting just that. So that's very delighted to see that. The second part, point D, is to foster collaboration between the council and the organization Compost Revolution and EPA to exchange insights and experience, both positive and negative. Interesting though, at the LGSW conference, I had long talks with EPA for FOGO and for this compost revolution. I must admit, they don't have the full solution. So that's why, as at the council level, so we should do our part just to help promote the state mandate for FOGO by 2030. So again, talking about the FOGO, we know it has been delayed, and there are some concerns raised by the community. So this just amplifies the urgency to promote compost bins, to raise awareness about recycling, mitigate any potential negative impact of the delay, and integrate compost bin into the evolving FOGO strategy. So harnessing the collective effort of the community multiplies the benefit for the environment, our council, and our finances. So I'm grateful for your support to this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wang. Councillor Catt.
Yes, I'll just say a few words, and I do congratulate Councillor Wang for putting this motion forward. I do believe that composting is really something that many households are taking up. In many places around where I live in Blakehurst, there are many people that do have the compost bins, and they do use it. My only issue is that it's strange that we're going back to the future. What I'm trying to say is this, and I think this one of the persons that addressed the council, Mr. Matt Allison, alluded to this. I suppose when I was a young boy, composting was not just something that we spoke about and said, oh, we're going to do it, it's going to be exciting. It was something that you had to do. We got a collection once every 2 weeks. And what we also had was we didn't wrap our garbage in neat little plastic bags. We had a what do you call it, a bucket. We emptied what they now call food and organic waste into this bucket, and you throw it straight into the bin. Nothing was neatly and tidy garbage. It was garbage, and it was organic food and whatever you like to call it. I also think in many ways, unfortunately, in many ways we have evolved, especially in technology, artificial intelligence, etc. But when we come to things like our environment, our footprint, etc., I think we've devolved. Paper bags were a normal when you went to a fruit shop or anywhere else. Everything was put in paper bags, and if you were going to be a little bit more delicate, you threw your rubbish in the paper bags or wrapped it in newspaper. So what I'm trying to get at is this is not new. This is to turn around and call it fashionable is ridiculous. This is what people did in the past. So Back to the Future is something we should be learning about. Let's go back in history, work out what they used to do in the past, and implement those programs. Composting is not an exciting thing. It's a necessity. That's how we should look at it. It's a necessity. The backyards of many places, when I was young, you had a compost bin. And it wasn't even a bin, it was a pile. So let's learn from the past and implement that past into this great evolving community and implement something which was very, very useful. Plastic bags, in many ways, have done the invention of plastic in many ways has done a lot of good, but in many ways has been disastrous to our environment. That's basically, and I commend you for your work.
Thank you, Councillor Catras. Councillors, any other speakers on the motion? There being none of the motion, all those in favour say aye. All those against, I declare that carried. The next motion is shortage of housing supply, moved by Councillor Catras, seconded by Councillor Ficarra. Councillor Catras.
Councillors, I'm not going to read that whole motion out. I think you've hopefully you've had an opportunity to read it. There have been a couple of amendments, and they weren't major. The first amendment was in item I, where what was added is that that outlines the council's comprehensive response. Yeah, basically it was just a portion of item I. Is there any way we can highlight that? What the amendment was?
That's the full amendment.
Oh, okay, good. And the other thing was in item 4, council supports, as part of its response to the Minister of Planning and Public Space, a request for increasing the supply of housing, a response to the Minister of Planning and Public Spaces, request of increasing the supply of housing, consideration of increased densities within the appropriately identified areas. Look, I think that you can actually read that in your own time, and I'm hoping everybody has read it already. Look, first of all, I'd like to thank the Director and the staff that have been involved in responding to every letter that's been given to the Director and the staff, and responding in detail, like what was dealt with by the Environment Planning Committee in the last meeting. And I also thank the Director for responding now in lots of detail with regards to what I'm proposing. Councillor, I really don't need to talk. Can I speak to it first, Mr. Mayor, rather than the amendment going forward?
Sure.
Because I really like my opportunity to speak.
Yeah, I'll take that as your opportunity to speak to your motion.
Thank you.
And then we'll go to the amendment thereafter.
Councillors, I really don't need to talk at length about the most significant housing issues that are facing our community. You all know about the shortage of housing supply, the shortage of the supply of affordable housing, the shortage of supply of public and social housing, and the shortage of supply of affordable rental housing. Every time you pick up a newspaper or magazine that reports on our everyday news, you will always come across an article that deals with these severe housing shortages. An overwhelming majority of such articles focus on the difficulties that our state government faces when trying to convince us at the local government level that we are in dire straits with regards to the supply of all types of housing, and also the extreme difficulties that are facing our youth in their attempts to house themselves. Councillors, it is not good enough, and I repeat this, it is not good enough to articulate that you understand the serious nature of the housing shortage and that you want to do everything in your power to assist in resolving the issue, and then when the first opportunity arises, for you to do something, you waver. I've often heard councillors that, and the comment that's made, that of course I'm aware of the serious issue facing housing. Of course I believe that we've got to do something about it. But the comment afterwards, council, is, even though I'm aware of that seriousness, but surely we can't address the issue in this location. Do we understand what we're saying here? The duplicity of objectives. The duplicity is, I'm aware, but at the same time, what you're saying is, not here. Anyway, what I'm doing, council, is asking you to support my multifaceted motion, which in general terms seeks to provide support to the state government in its implementation of various policies that are intended to, at least somewhat, relieve the serious problem of housing shortage. We need, as councillors, to show good faith in the various attempts and initiatives being introduced by the state government by providing support for the various initiatives, such as fast-tracking development applications for terraces and mid-level residential flat buildings that are quality designs and meet the standards that depicted in a specific developed pattern book. I move an extension. Thank you. Also calls for
Councillors,
meet the standards.
Sorry, Councillor Catchus, I'll go with the motion regarding the extension of time.
Thank you.
Councillors, we have a move to extend time for Councillor Catchus, moved by Councillor Catchus, seconded by Councillor Pekara. All those in favour say aye. All those against?
No. Now, the main essence of my motion is that the state government must consult the local government and must take the local government into consideration. Sorry, I've just got to be. Look, before I go any further, because I realise I'm going to run out of time, I really need you to listen to some of the articles that appeared in news. This is in the Herald. This is in the Herald, the 10th of November 2023, and this is from the editor of the Herald. Before the March state election, the Herald published an editorial expressing concern that the Labor opposition had fallen short of presenting a compelling vision for the future of New South Wales. The criticism was justified at the time and still applies to some aspects of Labor government. But one emerging bright spot is a growing focus by Premier Chris Minns on the housing crisis paralysing our city and state. We have had a trickle of hints over the past few months about the government's new housing policy, what the government's new housing policy would look like, but the unveiling of a detailed policy now looks imminent. A detailed policy now looks imminent. In a speech to Sydney's Institute last Tuesday, I'm not going to read the whole article. In a speech.
Sorry, Councillor Catchus, did you say you're going to read the whole article?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm just reading certain excerpts.
Yeah, thank you.
In a speech to the Sydney Institute last year, Minns identified housing affordability and availability as the largest single challenge facing the public and the government. He then goes on to say, just quickly, because I am very passionate about this issue, adding, Adding more housing to established suburbs will be the trickiest challenge for Mints to navigate. Getting it done will require real policy moves and political skill, particularly given he will need to override some of the controls certain NIMBY councils, and that's in the article, certain NIMBY councils have over planning rules. Now, for those who are of the, what do you call it, of the late Liberal persuasion, how about this? This is an article in the Sydney Morning Herald. Christopher Ruff, the opposition whip in the New South Wales Upper House, used a late 9:00 speech last week to call on his fellow Liberals to ignore pressure from not in my backyard baby boomers in their electorates who oppose new housing. That's what he said. That's your people. That's your people. What else did your people say?
That's right.
And this is Rath, Christopher Rath,
My friend.
your friend. The reality is that you're not going to lose your seat because of 10 letters that you received about a development from a few NIMBYs that don't want to go ahead, he said. But you will lose your seat. There's no point of order in this. This is out of an article. But you will lose your seat if only 1 in 5 Generation Z and 1 in 4 millennials only vote for the Liberal Party because they can't afford to buy a home. That's how you're going to lose your seat. My suggestion, your friend, my suggestion would be to do more to drastically increase private housing supply in New South Wales and maybe worry a little bit less about the handful of NIMBY boomers that email and phone your office. So what have we got? Bipartisan agreement for almost everybody, whether you're Labor, Liberal, Greens, etc., that we have a serious issue.
Councillor
We really
Catchis,
do
we've
have a
given
serious
you
issue, and we must,
more time than
and
extension.
we must do something properly about it. We're also asking in my
Councillor Catchis, I
motion.
need you to conclude your comments. Like,
Sorry?
conclude.
Yeah, I'll conclude. We're also asking that the Leader of the Opposition take a bipartisan approach. So please, councillors, let's do something about it instead of beating around the bush.
Thank you, Councillor Catchis. Councillor Ball, you had an amendment that you wanted to put
Can I
forward.
please speak as a seconder?
Um,
Be so short.
the seconder can speak to the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to say that I really genuinely commend the state government for the fantastic work that they're doing in addressing the shortage of housing supply in Sydney and in New South Wales. They're doing a fantastic job, and I think we should really get around them. Thank you, Councillor Catchis.
Thank you, Councillor Fakkari. Councillor Deputy Mayor Borg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I'd like to propose a further amendment to Councillor Catchis if you'd consider accepting this, and I really support the amendments that you've made to the motion to directly reference the very extensive and thorough report that our strategic planning team presented to our Environment and Planning Committee, which outlined a plan for the council to move forward to look for increased densities in response to the letter that we received from the Minister of Planning. So I think that report was endorsed and adopted by council earlier tonight. So I think this council has embraced the need to respond to the Minister's request that we start investigating increased densities. And I think that the council officers outlined a really measured and clear approach on doing that. So ideally, the amendments that I'd like to make to this motion is to remove 3 of the items that are listed. Okay.
Councillor Catchis, we'll
Sure.
look.
Okay.
We'll
So
let
the items that I would like to remove is items 2, 5, and 7. And if I could just explain the reasons, Councillor Catchis, and then you can consider whether or not you accept them. Is that okay with you, Mr. Mayor?
Of course, yes.
Okay, so item 2 is that council endorses the approach to fast track development applications through the complying development pathway for terraces and mid-level residential flat buildings up to 6 stories that are of quality building design and meet the provisions of the pattern book once developed. I have real concerns about council endorsing any approach that we have such little information on. We don't know what this fast track development process looks like. This council has highlighted really big concerns that we have with the compliant development process already that we've tried to tackle. So I'd be very concerned about council endorsing an approach which fast tracks compliant development without us having that information. We don't know the implications on the residents or the staff. So that's my concern on item 2, Councillor Catras. Item 5 is that council requests that the government consult with councils to identify the appropriate locations for where the increased density should occur within their LGAs. I think that the strategic planning team in the environment planning report identified a really clear process for this council to identify how we can increase in densities, and I don't see why we would want to ask the government to consult with council on this. I think council should be the decision makers on where increased densities are within our local government area. So I would like council to retain that responsibility as per the recommendations outlined in the environment and planning report. And the last item is item 7. The council acknowledges that officials from the New South Wales Department of Planning and Environment had previously listed 50 train and metro stations that could take increased residential development, and also acknowledges the article that appeared in the Telegraph on the 6th of November 2023 titled "A French Fix for Housing Crisis, Bold New Push to Fast Track Projects." Just on that one, Councillor Catras, I'm questioning the relevance of quoting a newspaper article in a council resolution. If that's a major concern, I'm happy to let that go. I don't think it changes the meaning of the motion that much. I'm just not sure of the relevance of quoting a newspaper article from the Telegraph in the motion. So I'll put that amendment, and if Councillor Catras would like to consider whether to accept that or not.
That's been put forward. Not accepting. Sure, Councillor Catras. So not accepted by Councillor Catras as the original mover of the motion. So now I'll call on a seconder to the amendment that was proposed by Councillor Borg. Seconded by Councillor Lansbury. Councillors, we will now have a debate. We will have speakers for the amendment now. So Councillor Borg, you being the mover of that motion, of that amendment, sorry, you've got first.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think I covered most of it off then, my reasons. You know, as I mentioned, Councillor Catras, if it's a big issue, I'm happy to just remove items 2 and 5, which are the major sticking points for myself, and leaving item 7. But if that's still not accepted, then I'm happy for the amendment to be put to councillors.
Come again, please. What did you say? You're actually putting back some?
I'm trying to, I guess, negotiate with you. Item 7, which I had proposed to remove, if you were happy to, for that to remain in and accept the exclusion of the other 2 items, being item 2 and 5, then I would be happy to.
Just so I can get a clarification, the only deletions you're now proposing is item 2, council. Sorry, 2 and
5.
Could I can't, well, hold on, 2 and 5, I've got my own copy. Can I just consider it first, Mr. Chair?
Sure, I'll give you a moment, Councillor Catras.
2 is, well, 2 is council endorses the approach of.
Councillor Catras, how about you turn your mic off? I'll give you half a minute to go through that and read it.
Can I ask a question in the meantime?
I'm happy to delete item 5, and if we could amend council endorses an approach which introduces a fast tracking a development application. And I'll leave, if you leave out the complying development pathways for terraces there, I'm happy to leave that out, but if you leave council endorses the approach to fast track development applications.
We don't have a huge.
Well, no, it's just basically there to introduce a fast track and we have to consider it.
Sorry, Councillor Patches, I'm just getting advice on this.
Well, I'll just see what the director says.
Because it's mixing up two things. One is saying this is DA, how do we track DAs? That's a different matter. Often moving different
I might pass over to the Director of Planning.
Okay.
Sorry, Meryl, but yeah, it may change the whole meaning of it. So I'll get the Director of Planning to give us some advice on point 2.
Okay, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Catras. I guess where I need a bit of guidance here is that we're talking about the two things they're talking about here. One is the introduction of complying development for medium density housing based on a pattern book. We haven't seen the pattern book, and as been rightly said, increasing the focus on private certifiers to do these developments will fasten up the process, but then I would need to have a massive compliance team to follow up on issues. That's one matter. The second issue, which I think I've just heard you talk about, is there another way? I guess you're talking about what process can be put in place by the department or by council to fast track applications that relates to medium density housing. So I think that probably needs a bit more thought and probably a further report. It might be further, we have a further discussion with the department. Like I think I've indicated to you that we're getting some assistance from the department at the moment who are looking at these. Their focus is on medium density. We don't get a lot of applications for medium density housing at this point.
Well, on that basis, can I just ask you a question? On that basis, will you be taking, I mean, you've been given some assistance by the Department of Planning. You've got I suppose, a system of fast tracking minor applications. So we've got that implemented. Whether we like it or not, the government's probably going to implement something, so maybe not trigger too much on it. All right, I'll accept the deletion of 2. And
Sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Catras, I just might indicate to the council, the council with the LEP 2021 rezoned land for medium density housing. So 600 lots were created. As my comment to the Housing Symposium last Monday, we have not had one development application for terraces or townhouses in those areas. So it's not something that's happening.
be taken up.
It's not something that's been taken up at this stage. I'm not saying it won't.
Yeah.
It is correct. We do have, as a result of you, Councillor Catras, 2 fast track planners where we're moving applications, the smaller applications through. We're also got the service that the department are helping us with till February. So it's at this stage, it's not particularly an issue for us. It could be in the future, and maybe we look at that.
Well, on that basis, on the basis of what the director has indicated and what Councillor Ball, the Deputy Mayor, wants to do, I'll do delete 2 and 5, wasn't it? Okay, I accept that.
Okay, so that being accepted by the mover, the original mover of the motion of deleting item 2 and 5 in the motion, I'll also consult with the secondary if they're happy with that. Councillor Ficarra is happy as the original seconder of that motion. So that now remains the motion. Councillors, do I have any further discussion on this motion?
Yeah.
Councillor Jamieson.
I just had a question, I guess because we had a confusion with basically the Glenlee people. How far are we taking this? Are we talking about the Glenlee? Is that connected, or you're not looking at Glenlee and doing the social housing at the moment?
No, this is a separate topic altogether, Councillor Jamieson. But I understand your point regarding development on Glenlee, but unrelated. Councillors, any further questions? Or
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, can I just confirm for minute taking?
Sure.
So points 2 and 5 are being removed,
Yeah,
and
correct.
and point 7 is remaining. Yes. Yep. Thank you.
Perfect. Councillors, again, any further questions or comments? Discussions? No. There being none, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against, I declare that carried. Thank you. Councillors, we move over to next item on the agenda.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, just on a procedural question, do we record the votes for the extension of time?
Yeah.
There was some no.
Sorry, I didn't hear it. It's now passed. We've had the extension of time, so. Okay. Sorry, on this being a planning matter. Yeah, I think that's correct as well. Councillors, given that the last motion is actually a planning related matter, I think it's important that we actually do a vote by division so that it can be recorded. So, councillors, I put again that motion moved by Councillor Katras, seconded by Councillor Fakara, which is motion NM 071-23, shortage of housing supply. I'll pass over to Ms McKinley to take the vote. I start with I vote for the motion.
Deputy Mayor, Councillor Ball. For. Councillor Amby Haperhard. For. Councillor Fakara. For. Councillor Jamieson. For. Councillor Katras.
For.
Councillor Kanjarski.
For.
Councillor Lansbury. For. Councillor Liu.
For.
Councillor Marnie.
For.
Councillor Mort.
Against.
Councillor Smerdley.
For.
Councillor Stratokopoulos.
For.
Councillor Symington. For. Councillor Wang.
For.
14 votes for, 1 against.
Thank you, councillors. Councillors, the next motion is NM 072-23. Congratulations to the Salvation Army Hurstville Corp for the Many Cultures One Hope event. Councillor Wang.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I move this motion.
Moved by Councillor Wang, seconded by Councillor Jamieson. Councillor Wang.
Thank you. So this Many Culture One Hope event was a resounding success, organized by Solvers Hurstville Corps. The purpose of this event was to introduce the community to the wide range of free services and activities offered by the Solvers in Hurstville. There was a global showcase of dance and music performance featuring Salvation Army bands and all the groups from China, Africa, Ukraine, and Nepal. Food stalls were provided by local business as well. And notably, this event marks the first time a local Solvers group has partnered with the Salvation National Code and Culture and Language Diversity Community Engagement Team to host a significant community event that unites diverse cultures. The insight gained from the success of the Hurstville event will be shared with Solvers Corp nationwide. The event was made possible through the assistance of George River Council and the dedicated effort of numerous volunteers from the Solvers and the George River Association. As you have heard from the public speaker, in addition to the financial sponsorship, the practical assistance from the Community and Culture Department and the Environment and the Planning Department was much appreciated by the Solvers and the community. So I just give you an example. To help one of the restaurants to obtain the temporary food permit, the staff actually visited the shop twice in addition, to other telephone support. So it's much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Wang. Councillor Jamieson, would you like to speak? No. Councillors, any speakers on this motion? There being none, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against, I declare that carried. Next motion is engaging with local businesses and helping boost local economy. Councillor Lou.
Thank you, Mr. May. Can I have a second?
Seconded by Councillor Catras, I think it was.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Catras, to second my motion. As printed on the report, my motion includes 4 different points. I think A and B, they are connected. The purpose is to seek to increase the communication and engagement with local Georges River business. The first way, by establishing a new local business e-newsletter. Thank you for our council executive manager for City Future, Mr. Simon Massey, to help me to, bring out these ideas, and hopefully before the end of the year that we could see the first version of these e-letters. So the e-letters, of course, we understand the meaning is try to bring the local business the inside news and upcoming events, opportunities for local tenders, and information on support mechanisms available for local business. And the second one related to, and even further to point A, and the second one is face-to-face. So we wanted to increase this communication between council and the local business by joining the St. George Business Chamber and Service New South Wales visit and walks within the LGA for the commercial centres. I think the purpose is the same thing, and if we wanted to enhance the way by face-to-face visit. And the third one, the council provides targeted business communications in the lead up to key council events to ensure local business can maximize economic opportunities, especially that the council pilot targeted local business communication in the lead up to the Lunar New Year festival in 2024. And the last one, at the beginning of November, I think even some of our the local people, we are not the customers of Optus, but within the whole nation, there are around 10 million customers of Optus, which are using mobile phone or the internet service. They are really relying on this service provider. But unfortunately we see this happening for the from the Optus outage. We really feel sorry for those people who impact in our local area, on the local small business people really impacted by these very severe outage. But luckily within council's local area, councils we have our accessible facilities like a library. We can provide the Wi-Fi. I heard a lot of similar stories from the local business, or especially those people work from home. If they are both mobile and the Wi-Fi provider services are from Optus, they can't do anything, but they drive around to go to our local library to get the Wi-Fi to keep on going their business and their work. So thank you so much for council doing that. So that's why I wanted to see if anyone from the local community, they wanted to get any help, they can go to state government, and then there is another one, TIO, which refer to the telecommunication industry ombudsman to get kind of assistance. So that's all my points in my motion. Thank you so much, Mr. May.
Thank you, Councillor Lou. Councillor Catras. Any other speakers on the motion? There being none on the motion. Oh, sorry, Councillor Jamieson. Councillor Jamieson, are you speaking for or against? For.
I just wanted to thank Councillor Lou, because I think the businesses and the local business are the centres of our communities and they need our support. And also congratulate the council for supporting St. George Business Chamber, because I think all these other areas have it and they're quite strong and support the business, and I think that'll be great value for all our businesses in our area. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Jamieson. Councillors, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against, declare that carried. Next motion is NM 074-23, property investors restricted from becoming councillors. Councillor Fakara.
Yep.
Moved by Councillor Fakara, seconded by Councillor Katras.
I think this is strong and necessary reform, and I think the motion speaks for itself.
Thank you, Councillor Fakara. Councillor Katras, would you like to, as a
Oh,
second
sure.
the motion?
Yes, I will speak to it because I believe that some would be very surprised that I would be supporting such a motion. I gather and I understand why, but when Councillor Fakara posed this motion to me, I sort of thought to myself, look, think about it. What is the difference between, and before I do that, can I ask a question of, I'm not sure if it's the General Manager. My understanding is that one of the speakers indicated that there are restrictions to certain professions, blah, 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 from running for council. I don't believe there are any restrictions for certain professions. I think that if you're a real estate agent, developer, etc., you can still apply to become a councillor. So if that's the case,
Sorry, I think yeah.
Basically, why I'm supporting this is that I looked at it and I thought to myself, well, just a minute, what's the difference between a developer, a property investor, and a real estate agent? They have one thing in common. Anything that happens at council, anything that upzones a property which they own as an investment property, makes them vulnerable to the possibility of having a pecuniary interest. The same with a real estate agent who is selling property and is really looking forward to, an upzoning, and also a developer. So all of them have that commonality, and that is a pecuniary interest, an interest based on the decision that they make on council with regards to their properties and other properties. Having said that, I'm not too focused on people that want to run in a council election or a local government election and they don't own a property in the local government area that they want to run in. In other words, if you own properties outside the local government area that you want to run in, then you don't own. Then if you don't own a property, there's no issue. But if you do own a property in the local government area that you're running in, there is a potential possibility, I'd say only a potential possibility, that you can influence a decision that involves your investment property. Now, it may sound a bit far-fetched to many, but at the same time, with the massive changes the state government's making, massive implementation of policies that are going to be seen to increase densities, it may involve the demolition of a small block of units, one of those units that you own, and a high-rise tower going up. So I would suggest that that happens on your investment property, then you've got a conflict of interest and you have a pecuniary interest, especially if that investment, and only if that investment is in the local government area that you are wanting to stand for in the next elections. So imagine, let me think about it. I own a property on the water. I'm renting it out for $2,000 a week. Let's say, for argument's sake, I'm in the council, and the council's looking at the foreshore redevelopment, and they're looking at the possibility of putting 3 or 4 stories on your block of land. It's an investment house, and you're going to get 3 or 4 stories on the water. What about the insurmountable profit you will be making? There's someone back there. What about the insurmountable profits that you'll be making if there's an upgrade, because our state government's decided we need more properties where you've got a house. We need more units where you've got a house.
So I'll let you think about it. That's why I'm supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Catchus. Any speakers against the motion?
I've got some questions.
All the lights popped at once, sorry. Councillor Kuniaski.
Just my first question is to Councillor Catchus. Are you proposing an amendment to that? Notice of motion.
But that's not my motion, it's Councillor Picard's motion.
So you're not proposing an amendment to exclude people that own property within that local government area?
Well,
you're talking about it.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to amend that to fix the name.
So is it or not?
Councillor Kuniaski, you.
Okay, I'll continue my questions. So we're not allowed to own property in our local government area. But if you are upzoning, Councillor Catchus, all you do is put a declaration of interest, then you're sweet. There's no issue. You don't vote, you walk out of the room as you've done before, and you don't vote. So my question is, further to Ms. Cott's public address, you can't invest as a family, as a trust or a partnership, or as a sole owner. How about as a company?
Question is directed to the mover of the motion.
Yes.
So many people lined up, but I can't. Anyway.
Sorry, Councillor. Yeah, you'll all need to turn off your mic so that Councillor Ficarra can actually. Thank you, Councillor Ficarra.
I was attempting to be all inclusive, but I've never participated in a company before, so I didn't think of it.
Question.
Sorry?
So whether you have, my question is, can you?
With your motion.
I think the spirit of the motion says it. Any form of current legal ownership to a real property, I suppose that would include a company. But keep in mind, I did include there that this definition does not include, et cetera, the ownership of a property for the purpose of conducting your own business. So say you wouldn't want to discourage somebody who is the owner of a hairdressing business in a suburb within the LGA who owns the property in the building that they conduct their business in. You wouldn't want to discourage them.
Councillors, yeah, I understand that there may be more questions, and I think there's many that may have questions. What I will do is ask if there is a speaker against the motion first. Deputy Mayor Borg.
I'm sorry, well, I'll continue with my against.
So you want to speak against the motion?
Yes.
Okay, so speak against the motion, Councillor Kuniaski, and then we'll go to another speaker for the motion, then we'll go to a speaker against, and then if there's any more questions at the end of it, we can take questions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So you can invest as a owner of a business in the premises that you are occupying. That's not making sense to me. As per that notice of motion where you are trying to exclude property owners from being councillors. But further to that is family trusts, unit trusts. Can you own property as a unit trust? How about investing through a managed fund? I've got many of clients that invest through a managed fund, and under no control of theirs, the fund managers invest in property. So suddenly you're excluded again. You're excluded from being a councillor because you are diversifying your investment portfolio and have decided to invest in a managed fund. And unit trusts, much the same as managed funds, unit trusts, where you buy units in a trust, and it's not at your discretion where that fund manager invests the money. So once again, you are excluded from being a councillor because you have some units in a unit trust. But you can invest in property where you run a business from where you run a business. My further to this is a question to all the councillors, and in fact everybody in this room, who has a super fund? If you have a super fund, most probably, in fact 99%, I would say, invest in property. So suddenly you can't have a superannuation policy that invests in property because it's going to exclude you from being a councillor. And that's just a industry fund. How about if you have a self-managed super fund? People go out and open up self-managed super funds so that they can invest in what they choose to invest. for their retirement, for their future. So when they stop working, they have an income stream. That income stream is from a self-managed super fund, which invests in property. So as a councillor, you cannot have a self-managed super fund that invests in property. I'm not understanding the logic behind this at all.
As a speaker against the motion, Councillor Kanyarski, a speaker for the motion. Given that there was Councillor, did you want to speak? Right, okay, well, I'll take another speaker against the motion. Councillor Deputy Mayor Ball.
Yeah. Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be voting against the motion presented, which proposes to ban property investors from serving as councillors in an effort to strengthen the integrity and decisions made by councils. While the intention behind the motion is rooted in a desire for transparency and fairness, I firmly believe that it is misguided and could have far-reaching consequences that undermine the very principles that it seeks to uphold. First and foremost, the motion lacks clarity in its definition of a property investor under the Local Government Act. As highlighted by the director's comments, there are no explicit definitions provided, leaving room for ambiguity and potential misinterpretation. So without clear and precise definitions, we risk excluding individuals who may not fit the intended profile of a property investor. Moreover, as Councillor Kandowski has pointed to, our existing code of conduct already includes stringent provisions that mandate councillors to declare any interest they may have in a property for any matter under consideration by the council. These provisions are in place to ensure transparency and ethical behaviour. Banning property investors seems redundant when we already have a mechanism in place to address potential conflicts of interest. One of the most concerning aspects of this motion is its potential impact on the representation of our community. If we were to implement such a ban, we would be excluding a significant portion of the population, including those with relatives who own investment properties. This could lead to a council that is unreflective of the diversity and experiences of our community. We must not forget that representation should encompass a broad range of perspectives to make well-informed and balanced decisions. Furthermore, the proposed amendment raises questions about the inclusion of individuals who own second homes, such as holiday properties. If these individuals do not derive any income from their additional property and are not property investors in the traditional sense, should they also be excluded from serving on council? This motion risks penalising individuals for choices that are not inherently detrimental to the community or indicative of a conflict of interest. Lastly, the motion runs the risk of creating unnecessary divisions within our community based on social status. By singling out property investors, we send a message that certain members of our community are not welcome to participate in local governance. This goes against the principles of inclusivity and equality that we should strive to uphold in our democratic society. In conclusion, while the motion may have been proposed with good intentions, its potential consequences are too severe and far-reaching. We must ensure that our council remains a representative body that values diversity and inclusivity. And I urge my fellow councillors to vote against this motion and instead focus on strengthening our existing mechanisms for transparency and ethical conduct. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillors, questions or speakers for the motion? Councillor Smoot.
I just want to make a point about the motion, Mr. Mayor.
So,
I'll speak against it, like, because
I'll take the speaker for first. Any speakers for the motion? Councillor Marnie, do you have a question?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Question for the General Manager, maybe Director of Finance and Corporate Services or the General Counsel, whether there are any known perceived legal or governance risks arising from councillors who own investment properties and their applications of the proposed new laws. And secondly, what are the risks to council when councillors own property outside of the George River LGA? They're two questions, and I've got some questions for Councillor Ficarra, if I can maybe have those addressed first by the staff. Thank you.
The first question, Councillor Marnie, was, could you just repeat the first question again, please?
Yeah, were there any perceived legal or governance risks arising from councillors who own investment properties and the ramifications of the proposed new laws? Through you, Mr. Mayor, I would find that very difficult to answer because it's a question that can't be answered. You know, that at the moment there is no legislation in place, and it has to be determined whether councils are running well with people who have investment properties. I personally can't comment on that because I can't join the debate. If you look at the director's comments, it clearly states there that the state government's already thrown out the bill that was put before the government with regards to real estate agents and property developers. They are still able to hold the position of a councillor. And the second question was,
Councillor
Money. Sorry, Councillor Money. The second question was, what are the risks to council when councillors own property outside of the George River LGA if they're investment properties? I understood, and I'd have to ask Councillor Bakara. I thought that this was related to councillors owning property within their LGA, not outside their LGA. Is that?
My motion is written as counting councillors who own, like, it is what it says. It's not discriminatory between properties owned within the LGA or outside.
Okay. Well, that's the case. I can't see what influence a councillor can have with a property outside the LGA. So, to you, Councillor Money, I'd have to say that was my response to your second question. Thanks, Mr. Tuxford. Look, I had some other questions. I was going to ask Councillor Bakara, but I think in the interest of time, I'll just make a comment.
are you speaking?
I'm speaking against it.
Okay, against. I'll take just the questions, only whatever questions, unless I've got a speaker for. If I don't have a speaker for and there's no other questions, given that I've taken 2 speakers for, 2 speakers against, I'll give Councillor Bakara her right of reply, and then we can put the motion.
Thank you.
Councillor Bakara.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A curious debate. Look, this council's already established that we support a genuine ban on property developers and real estate agents serving as councillors. So thank you to Councillor Symington and the previous term of council for putting that motion forward. Look, the reasoning behind this motion is pretty clear, and I hope people can look at the spirit of it. The reasoning is that property investors, just like property developers and real estate agents, these individuals' major source of financial prosperity is from conducting the activity of speculating on the property market more than the average individual. How could it be said that an individual who has a significant source of income from the speculation of the property and rental market through ownership, maintenance, lease, and sale of property is all that different to a property developer or a real estate agent? They have the same basis of their activity. In my opinion, this isn't right. Look, I believe that this is really important reform. It's unpopular with some, as we can see, but important reform is always going to ruffle some people's feathers. But I think it's really important to stand up for what's right. And it's only fair for me to acknowledge some of the points that were brought up by councillors and participants in public forum. Also interesting, again, people to evoke the phrase of housing crisis when arguing against something that I'm standing for, because it's obviously a very keen interest of mine. But I encourage anybody to read significantly into the matter, because a lot of the time, some of the motivators of this housing crisis has been that first home owner people have been struggling to compete against people who have a huge property portfolio. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bakara. Now that the original mover of the motion, sorry, Councillor Catras, now that the original mover of the motion has had their right of reply, we will put the motion, and I'll take all those in favour of the motion, say aye. Aye. All those against? Aye. Against. Okay, given councillors, I'll call for a division on the motion. I vote against the motion.
Deputy Mayor, Councillor Ball.
Against.
Councillor Amby Haperha.
Against.
Councillor Fakara.
For.
Councillor Jamieson.
Against.
Councillor Catras. Councillor Kanjarski.
Against.
Councillor Lansbury.
Against.
Councillor Loog.
Against.
Councillor Marnie.
Against.
Councillor Mort.
Against.
Councillor Smerdley. Councillor Stratokopoulos.
Absolutely against.
Councillor Symington.
100% for.
Councillor Wang.
Against.
Thank you, councillors. I declare the motion lost. Next motion, councillors, is NM 075-23. Congratulations to council's events team for the Frightful 80s Drive-In Cinema event. Councillor Mort. Seconded by councillors. Just Councillor Mort, you have the floor. Moved by Councillor Mort, seconded by Councillor Lansbury.
Thank you. My motion tonight is that council congratulate Georges River Council staff on the hugely successful 80s Drive-In Cinema Halloween event held on the 28th of October 23 at Donnelly Park, Collins Point. I'll just speak to it quickly. I'd like to congratulate Council's events team for the fantastic idea and execution of a terrifically themed Halloween event called Frightful 80s Drive-In at Donnelly Park on the 28th of October. I attended and was immediately impressed and surprised by the number of attendees and the effort so many had made to reflect their best Beetlejuice and similar freakish characters. Cars were decked out in an appropriate manner, and the way so many kids and indeed adults dressed for the event was fantastic. The smiles and laughter from so many illustrated just how the event was appreciated and the fun it generated. It was an absolute success from start to finish, and I mentioned my congratulations to the events team for an incredible community gathering, and I believe the events team had a very difficult time awarding the winning car entry for the best dressed car, which was Beetlejuice. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mort. Councillor Lansbury is a seconder. No. Councillors, any speakers against? There being none, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
All those against, I declare that carried. Next motion is rebuilding of Endeavour Street Wharf, San Susie. Deputy Mayor Ball, seconded by Councillor Catras.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move the motion that council writes to Mr. Stephen Campbell, member for Rockdale and Minister for Lands and Property, to seek grant opportunities for the rebuilding of Endeavour Street Wharf, San Susie. And I'll just speak to that. So firstly, I'd like to thank our speaker tonight, Mr. Morden, who has hung around to listen to the debate tonight. So thank you for that. So Mr. Morden wrote to me to make me aware that the Endeavour Street Wharf had been closed since the start of this year. And thank you also for your speech and giving us a really good insight into the history of the wharf, which by your account has served the community for over 100 years, which is pretty amazing. And thank you for painting such a beautiful picture for councils of the types of people who use the wharf and their varying purposes. I'm well aware council has many competing priorities for funding. However, a much used public wharf that's been completely closed to the community should be prioritised by council, in my opinion, so that this access to the water and use can be returned to the public. I hope that you can support this motion tonight, which seeks to ask the Minister for grant funding opportunities to help in the rebuilding of the wharf.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Borg. Councillor Catras.
I'm right, Councillor Borg, Senator.
Any other discussion on the matter, councillors? There being none, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. All those against, I declare that carried. Next motion is motion 077. Congratulate local participants from the Australian team for the 16th IDBF World Dragon Boat Racing Championships. Councillor Deputy Mayor Borg. Moved by Deputy Mayor Borg, seconded by Councillor Mort. Councillor Borg.
Thank you. Yes, I would just like to congratulate the three young athletes from our Georges River Council community that are mentioned in this motion. Celeste Agostini, who's 16 from Mortdale, Eve Koutros, who's 14 from Beverley Park, and Charlotte Francis, also 14 of Hurstville. So the three girls recently represented Australia at the 16th IDBF World Dragon Boat Racing Championships in Thailand in August this year. To represent your country in any sport is a huge honour. It requires dedication, commitment, sacrifice and drive. Our own Councillor Mort here has represented Australia in Ironman, and I'm sure she will agree it can only be achieved by hard work. There are no shortcuts. There is no easy way to do it without doing the hard work. And one of my favourite sayings is hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And you can see the world's greatest talent, but it's worth nothing if you don't work hard. And I'm sure these three young ladies have made many sacrifices, perhaps missing out on fun things that their friends may be doing when they, instead of training or competing, doing the hard work. So congratulations again. I wish them all the luck in their endeavours to represent Australia again at the World Championships in Germany in 2025.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Borg. Councillor Moore, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, I'd just like to also congratulate the girls on a phenomenal achievement in the dragon boat racing. I know for a fact that it's a really, really tough sport, and the mere fact that these girls get out there and put the heart and soul into achieving, you know, a goal such as they did is just phenomenal, and we're all very, very proud of them here, I think. So thank you.
Councillors, any other speakers for the motion? There being none, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against, I declare that carried. Next motion is NM 078-23. Congratulations to the Cogra RSL sub-branch for their Remembrance Day service at the Cogra Cenotaph.
Seconded, Mr. Mayor.
Seconded by Councillor Catchus.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move the motion as written. I'd like to congratulate the Cogra RSL sub-branch for their Remembrance Day service held at the Cogra Cenotaph. It was a moving ceremony attended by many in the community. Sub-branch also held a celebration inside the function rooms of Jubilee Stadium to celebrate 100 years since the Cogra War Memorial was first dedicated, commemorating Australian Armed Services personnel who died serving their country. I'd like to acknowledge Councillor Amby Haberhart, who was representing Premier Chris Minns and made a very moving address at the celebratory luncheon. And I'd also like to acknowledge the attendance of my fellow councillors at this event, Councillor Lansbury, Mort, Marnie, Cattrus and Simonton. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you. Yeah.
Councillor Catchus.
Mr. Mayor, thank you for that. I really appreciate the fact that I was invited along to actually attend the 100-year anniversary of the Cenotaph. I must say that celebrations like this have a different meaning to various people, depending on their expression and the way that they grew up. I understand that it was Remembrance Day. It was a great day, and it was the only, I suppose, celebration that I can remember of Remembrance Day. And when I asked the president why haven't we had Remembrance Days in the past, the president of the Cogra sub-branch, he said because we have not ever had a situation when it was the 100th anniversary of the Cenotaph. And I do understand what Remembrance Day means, but I also understand that the impact of, let's say my father, when I was growing up, who served in the Greek Navy and on the tail end of the Second World War. I understand it's not Remembrance Day. Our second in the Second World War took it very seriously, and when I was young, every day on Anzac Day, the 25th of April, we'd go down to the Martin Place and pay our respects to the marchers and pay our respects to the people that sacrifice. Councillors, in a situation like this, when you're brought up to actually feel the special impact that it has on you with regards to people that were lost in a war. In many ways, it was a senseless war. And also the Second World War, which was also a senseless war. And you've been made to stand to attention by someone who also fought in the war. It impacts on you, especially when you go up to the Cenotaph and it's the 100th year anniversary of that cenotaph. And people around you are making very poignant, as indicated by the Deputy Mayor, and poignant and moving speeches. You get caught up in that too. You walk up to the cenotaph, you look at its base, 1,000 sort of thoughts go through your mind as to what happened to all these people. You put the wreath on the base of the cenotaph, you walk away, and it's done. But every year it comes back, and every year we remember those people that passed on, and also those people that served. And I thought it was a great occasion that the Cochrane sub-branch, RSL sub-branch, put together.
Thank you, Councillor Catchers. Any further discussions? There being none, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against, declare that carried. Next motion is NM 079-23. Motions passed at the Local Government New South Wales Conference. Councillor Marnie, moved by Councillor Marnie, seconded by Councillor Wang.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This notice of motion is purely to give council and the community some feedback on the conference. Although it was disappointing that debate on one of Councillor Jamison's motions, introduction of a developed contribution scheme, and my three proposals, higher penalties for tree vandalism, stopping pollution of the state's waterways, and removal of dump shopping trolleys within 3 hours, have been postponed until the new LG New South Wales board meets. It was pleasing that Councillor Wang's motion for LG New South Wales and councils to observe the principles of multicultural New South Wales, and Councillor Jamison's improving private certification processes were passed immediately and without dissent. I particularly like to congratulate Councillor Jamison for her hard work and passion on this subject, and the resolution at the conference will go a long way towards addressing this long-standing and very serious statewide problem which affects property owners, their neighbours and the environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Councillor Wang.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I support Councillor Marnie's motion, and I have to point out that not only the councillors, a few of our councillors went there, but also our general manager and the director Daniel Park attended to the conference as well. In addition to the business we conducted, so we also had a good president to represent the Georges River Council to mix with other councils, and I have to say it is sort of helped to improve our image, promote our brand. So like my motion to promote the multicultural principles across all councils, and and the director's comments from that motion just highlighted how we as the Georges River Council have done so much work, and as a leader in the multicultural community. So I feel very proud, and it's also good fun. So we all take some of the spirit into our Christmas party from the conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Wang. Any further speakers on the motion? There being none, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Oh, was it? Sorry. Councillor Jamison.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank Councillor Marnie for your summary. It started to come clear that some of the issues that we were discussing at this local level, especially ones that include the certified CDCs, would be similar to a lot of the issues that other councils are having. Alone as a council, we are limited in our negotiations with state governments. So hopefully the voices from all our councils will combine to help rectify the issues with private certified CDCs, tree vandalism, infrastructure contributions, etc. I feel hopeful that although the other notices of motion do not get debate, I believe that they will get supported at the new board. And now that we have a president from the local government, we might have a good chance.
Thank you, Councillor Jamison. Any further speakers, councillors? There being none, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against, I declare that carried. The next motion is NM 080-23, Glenn Lee, and request a meeting with the Minister for the Environment and Heritage. Councillor Marnie, moved by Councillor Marnie, seconded by Councillor Ambiate.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank the Director of Environment and Planning and the Manager of Strategic Planning for continuing to provide such high-level advice, and look forward to continuing to work with the Community Council and the Minister to secure both heritage protection and funding for the purchase of this iconic site. I've taken on board the sentiments conveyed by Ms Matai tonight and sincerely hope that the Minister will act with due urgency in order to provide certainty to the family. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Councillor Amby Hagar. There being none, any other speakers for the motion? There being none, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against, I declare that carried. Councillors, the next motion is NM 081-23 Bushfire Awareness Campaign. Councillor Marnie, moved by Councillor Marnie, seconded by Deputy Mayor Bull.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. On 12th of October, Councillor Morton and I had the privilege of attending a meeting of the Canterbury Bankstown George River Bushfire Committee as delegates. We learned firsthand about what action has and will be taken by the authorities to prepare our community in the event of a bushfire. I thank the Director Assets Infrastructure along with all other staff who are involved in preparing the communications plan, and I'm sure the community will welcome the forthcoming information. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Deputy Mayor Bull. Any other speakers on the motion? There being none, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against, I declare that carried. Councillors, we move over to questions with notice. Question with notice 034-23, get the site right, October 2023. Councillor Marnie, do you have any further questions on them?
No, Mr Mayor, I do have a comment if that's all right.
I can only take questions, Councillor Marnie.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. There being no further questions, we go to question with notice 035-23, timed parking in Beverly Hills Town Centre.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Symington, you got a question?
Yeah, I have a, through you, Mr Mayor, to the Director of Assets and Infrastructure. Director, given the impact on the local business community with the lack of parking, because there's no Edgbaston car park anymore, what time frame are you expecting for any recommendations to come back to the local traffic committee?
Through you, Mr Mayor, I'm anticipating community consultation to commence almost immediately, but with the Christmas period, I wouldn't be expecting this to go back to the Traffic Committee until the February/March meeting. I do want to give both local businesses and residents the opportunity to comment.
Thank you. I hope that satisfies your question, Councillor Symington. Any further questions? No. Next item is question with notice 036-23, progress on notice motion 017-23, review mobile black spots in Peakhurst and improve mobile coverage in black spots areas. Councillor Fakara, any further questions? There being none, councillors, we now move to closed session, and we need a procedure to move into closed session, but yes, I need a procedural motion to move into closed session.
Happy to move that, Mr Mayor.
I've got to read it first.
Yeah.
Sorry. Let me do that. At this point, the time being 9:48 p.m, the meeting will move into a committee of the whole to allow consideration of a matter in closed session in accordance with Section 10A of the Local Government Act 1993. In accordance with Section 10A, Clause 2 of the Local Government Act 1993, Council entered into closed session to discuss items CCL 050A-23, Technology 1 SaaS Records Integrations, and CCL 051A-23, Lower Gannons Park Spoil Remediation. That in accordance with the previous provisions of Part 1 of Chapter 4 of the Local Government Act 1993, the matters dealt with in this report be considered in closed meeting at which the press and public are excluded. In accordance with Section 10A, point 2 and E, it is considered that the matter contains information that would be, if disclosed, prejudice the maintenance of law. That in accordance with Section 10D, it is considered that if the matter were discussed in an open council meeting, it would on balance be contrary to the public interest, as it contains information that would, if disclosed, prejudice the maintenance of law. Accordingly, members of the press and public are excluded from the closed session, and access to the correspondence and reports relating to the items considered during the course of the closed session will be withheld. I will ask the General Manager if there have been any written representations of objection from the public.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, there hasn't.
There being none, I will call on a mover and a seconder to move into closed session. Moved by Councillor Smerdley, seconded by Councillor Kanyarski. Councillors, for the members of the public and the press, live streaming will cease and resume following the confidential session of the council. Once the items are addressed, the live streaming will recommence and the resolutions which occurred in closed session will be confirmed. We will then deal with the remaining items on the agenda if there are any. No. Yep. Councillors, the motions from the closed session will be up on the screen before you. I will call for a motion to adopt the resolutions from the closed session in a moment. Yep. Now that we've given sufficient time for people to read that online, if they need to. The Committee of the Whole recommendations from the closed session in relation to items CCL 05A-23 and CCL 051A-23 of this meeting be received and noted as a resolution of Council without any alteration or amendment thereto. That the recommendations of the closed session be adopted as follows. Councillors, can I get a mover for that?
I move the recommendations, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Kanyarski, seconded by Councillor Smerdley. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against, I declare that carried. Councillors, there being no further items on the business agenda, I declare the meeting closed at 10:02 p.m.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillors.